generic sense, plus it's a public-private partnerships as you tap into the private sector, you tap into capital, which is quite a bit out there. The downside is they don't give it away free. You have to have a revenue stream attached to that pay, or the arrangement you have has to pay them to make the profit out of that. Now, the state of Maryland, one example that I think is really one of the best examples of public-private partnership, really involves Fort Worth, Baltimore, the expansion of the secret terminal. That is an excellent deal that was made. The state is getting built a major facility that would have been almost impossible directly financed without a huge amount of money. The private sector brought in the capital, and it worked very well. Now, regarding the state and other projects, you have to kind of look around and see. We have certain projects that lend themselves to create a revenue stream. And there, no doubt, are some that could, but getting into the specifics, probably more limited in Maryland because we don't have a huge number of facilities like that. And we're not building a huge number of new facilities like that. And part of what informed me, I'm turning over my mouth, one of the things I should disclose to you, I serve on the Board of Transportation Authority, so I'm dealing with the specifics of this question. But there could be that kind of analysis. I think the state's probably doing about the business of looking at all its options. But secret to me, knowing a fair amount about that deal, was really, really a boom for the state. And it actually helped the transportation board because one of these anomalies, the transportation authority happened to own the real estate for this. So we got a payment of several millions, substantial millions of dollars to put in the system for us, for toll roads. Will help to sustain that. Those are the kind of things.
Just as a quick follow-up, FHA is encouraging these public partnerships throughout the states. Can we attribute any of our funding, federal funding for these projects, to that sort of shouldering off that burden?
Yeah, and you asked the percentage, but I couldn't give you the exact percentage. Let me give you 2 or 3 programs I think show that these things will work. One is a thing called TIFIA, Transportation Infrastructure Innovation Financing Act, which is a credit program. And that credit program, loans, loan guarantees, standby lines of credit, has made available very inexpensive money to the states for projects that have revenue stream. The Intercounty Connector took advantage of this and have a $500 million TIFIA loan that we picked up at 1.8%, which was a huge saving for us. Other areas that are under consideration is, and it's very controversial, should the states be authorized to go ahead and toll the interstate system, the Disney system? It would be a state decision, not a federal decision. But the federal government would have to create the authority to be able to do that because it's prohibited. That's another area to looking at. There's another thing called GARVI bonds, grant anticipation revenue vehicles, which generate up front basically money at good cost that then will be paid off by future effective streams. That's working pretty well. There'll be a slice that goes in there. The thing that I have emphasized a lot, because I think it's critical to emphasize, it's a part of the solution. And anybody who would argue that's going to take care of our revenue problem is way off base. We have too many pockets in the country where it's just not feasible.
Thank you.
SenatorJen. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation. And I agree with you, it's going to be a combination of strategies for us to kind of get out of this hole. One on here, and I know you weren't going over these itemized fashion, but the import of foreign oil, how dependent are we on oil? I mean, figures have keep going around and all of that. And I was just wondering.
I can give you this statistic. Foreign oil represents about 25% of our oil coming in. It's significant. It's very significant.
All right.
And the price fluctuations obviously affect us in pretty dramatic ways, as the barrel of oil goes up and down. Now, on that point, one of the things that there's some discussions taken up was creating, for example, a foreign oil import fee to go to transportation. There's been some discussion about that floating around in Washington as a possibility for another And the view is, well, that would be basically not impact people in the United States. Well, of course,
Sure.
refiners are not going to give this away. But foreign oil is definitely a critical part of it. Difficulty in developing additional oil resources is an issue. But our vehicle miles traveled being extended by efficiency of vehicles helps that somewhat. But it's a very important part of the process.
And do you know if the discussion that's going on in Washington is looking at putting mitigation factors in so that there isn't that trickle down, as much of a trickle down effect if you do impose taxes?
Yeah, there is.
I'm just asking in general.
No, you're asking a good question. I'll tell you what, it's not well defined enough to know. I mean, that would be desirable, I think, at least from my point of view.
Sure.
But unclear how far they've gotten even in developing these proposals.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Beck?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rawl?
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me today. Jack has given me kind of high-level national perspective about what's going on in transportation planning and finance. I'm from NCSL, so my expertise is more on what's happening across the states. So I'll be talking about the federal context for state activities, and also how your counterparts in other states are both working with federal dollars and how they are moving forward with transportation funding and finance with or without the uncertain federal program. You do have a fairly hefty presentation from me that I'll be working through with you. And there are some other handouts from me as well, but I'll point to those as we get to them. And a brief overview of NCSL. I think most of you are familiar with us. Yes. We're a bipartisan organization. We serve the more than 7,300 state legislators and more than 30,000 state legislative staff in the country. We cover all topics, not just transportation, everything a state might consider, from medical marijuana, which I understand this committee might be looking at, to same-sex marriage, to healthcare implementation, everything that might come up in a state. And we help states in various ways, including research, technical assistance, meetings, and lobbying at the federal level for state interests. And I'll be talking later on in the presentation about some of the other state-federal issues that are coming up in transportation right now, which we have addressed in our state-federal policies that we use for lobbying. Slide 3. There is, as Jack mentioned, a nationwide transportation funding crisis that all the states are facing. There are many reasons for this, some of which I've listed here. I won't flavor each one of them because we were talking about how the presenters today are talking about different levels of the bad news. I will mention state budget shortfalls are an issue in as much as collections are still behind 2008 levels. State tax revenue collections do tend to lag behind other indicators of economic recovery. And although transportation at the state level is generally funded by dedicated revenues and not by general funds, nevertheless, there are many competing priorities for those dollars, and in some states there are diversions happening of transportation money to other areas that need infusions. Jack has talked very eloquently about the unsustainable approach of depending on the gas tax because of the decline in purchasing power, fuel efficiencies, changes in technology, often contradictory policy goals, and the wavering travel patterns of Americans at this time. I'll also mention the end of the stimulus monies. That money masked the underlying structural gap between transportation revenues and transportation funding for a time. Now that those monies are coming to an end, we're at what we call the RF cliff. Now we're seeing again those gaps more clearly revealed. In terms of federal dollars in the states, federal funds account for about 20% of both highway and transit funding. And as of 2006, federal funds were the largest single source of highway funding in 17 states and D.C. In Maryland, they come a close second, or at that time came a close second to the state gas tax, which is the primary source here. And federal dollars to the states include many things and many programs, including highway and transit, also aviation, earmarks, grants, appropriations, and one-time expenditures like the Recovery Act. We are right now, as Jack talked about, dealing with an uncertain federal program. He mentioned